Hey guys, so I'm here with a review, and today's review is Revolution by Jennifer Donnelly. And for those of you that are like, oh, that cover doesn't really look familiar, that's because this is the paperback. A lot of times you'll see a lot of my books are paperbacks. It's because I try not to buy hardbacks unless I've heard really, really good things about it or I just really, really want it. Just in case it's like a crummy book and then I realize I wasted, $20 instead of 10. So it actually makes me feel a little bit better inside. And in this case, kind of glad I didn't get the hardcover. I don't think I'd be as happy. I think it's worth the $10 that I spent, but I don't think it would be worth the $21 that would be with tax. Okay, so I'm going to start off by reading the back of the book so you kind of get an idea of what it's trying to put in your head. Okay? Love, loss, liberty. Andy Elpers is on the edge. She is angry at her father for leaving, angry at her mother for not being able to cope, and angry at the world for taking her younger brother Truman. Rage and grief are destroying her, and her father has determined that Andy's accompanying him to Paris over winter break is the solution to everything. But Paris is a city of ghosts for Andy. And when she finds a century-old diary, the ghosts begin to walk off the page. Alexandrine, the owner of the journal, knew heartbreak also, and Andy finds comfort in the girl's words, until on a midnight journey through the catacombs of Paris, words transcend paper and time, and the past becomes suddenly terrifying present. Guys, beware, there are spoilers that I will be saying about this book. So if you don't want to know the spoilers, please don't watch it. Andy Elpers is grieving over the death of her younger brother Truman. She finds only comfort from playing her guitar and popping antidepressants. When she is forced to go to Paris with her absent father for winter break, she comes across a diary of a young girl named Alex, who is the companion of the son of Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI, all during the French Revolution. It chronicles Alex's attempts to save the doomed prince from death and Andy's attempts to survive her very own revolution. So the writing itself in the book is actually really, really good. I was actually quite impressed how she would be in the real world, Brooklyn or Paris at the time, and, the love and stuff, and then she would immediately jump into a diary entry, and it was like you were drawn back into that time of the French Revolution phase. Era. I don't know why I said phase. The way she describes how it looks, you can see it perfectly in your head. And I love when books about history are able to do that, because a lot of times young YA novels kind of lack with history. I read a couple and they were horrible. I was like, what are you talking about? That never happened. I know history. No. So that is really, really well done. So for a person that likes history, read this. You'll probably enjoy it. I enjoyed it up until a point. And that was about the last bit of the book. I want to say, I said in my video earlier it was the last diary entry of Alex. That point at that end, you were like, oh, that was awesome. And then it just went downhill you wouldn't believe. She does this thing where you're even the reader yourself are asking questions. You're like, what? What happened? You didn't tell me what happened. She does this really, really stupid thing of a cop-out, I want to say, of her having Andy go on some sort of acid trip on her drugs or something. She had her pills and she drank alcohol with them at a party, and she somehow fell back into the revolution times. She time traveled. And you're reading it and you're like, what? Why is this happening? This was never even mentioned even before. She wasn't time traveling in her mind when she was sleeping. At least that would kind of make sense. So she time travels, and you're kind of sitting there, you're like, okay, If this is the way that she's trying to tell us how, like, everything happened, this is pretty lame. And that's what she did. This is exactly what she did. We traveled back in time and found out what really happened with Alex and what really happened with the Dauphin de France and all that stuff. And I remember finishing when she gets back into the real world again, and she's like, oh my god, that was crazy. It's like, why did you do that? Like, you totally just ruined the ending there. And then she proceeds to take the last, what is it? I'm not even gonna like joke here. I'm actually gonna tell you how many pages. Alright. So, at page 463, well, 464, there's one... There's 8 pages of 1 year later, where you find out that all of a sudden everything's groovy and perfect, and where she left off, she was trying to kill herself and things like that. Like, I hate when authors think that they can give us like that lame prologue thing and just instantly explain everything when we've been asking ourselves these questions for like 400 pages. You can't just do that. Why didn't you cut some of that out? Like, cut out the time travel and actually explain this properly. Instead of just leaving us going, what just happened? This book is over because she's all happy and dandy? Anyway, overall, the character development was beautiful. I did like Andy and I did like Alex. I also liked the secondary characters. I thought they were very, very well developed for a young novel. Anyway, overall my rating, 3 out of 5. The reason it's getting that high of a message is because I'm a history buff. So, anyway, I don't think I'll read this again because I'm actually quite angry of how it ended.